Welcome to ESVN, the Emma Sports Vigland Network show. My name is Emma Vigland. And here we are, ESVN OT, where we'll be giving our locks, our picks against the spread, our 3 locks. 3 bets we feel best about. Going into the weekend, we'll also be talking about Zach Wilson being quarterback 2, activated, being the backup to Mike White, and Argentina versus France on Saturday. Fun times. Bradley, hello.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Yeah?
I can't believe that Joe Douglas and Chris and Woody Johnson listen to this show. Crazy how much influence we have.
It is really nuts.
Never would have expected it.
It's instant success. We're already influencing front offices.
Friend of the show, Chris Johnson. Join us whenever you want.
Yeah.
Buddy. We'll be the Pat McAfee to your Aaron Rodgers.
Right. You completely
Jets propaganda.
Sycophants. Right. Complete propaganda. We will provide that. We have no shame.
Yeah, for a price.
If you want more shameless content, please like this stream. Subscribe to this channel, youtube.com/ESVN show. Rate us 5 stars if you're listening on the podcast platform. All that good stuff. I mean, we're entering the end of the NFL regular season. The playoffs are coming, and that's going to be very fun. And then once the NFL ends, I'm hoping to bring the heat with NHL and NBA content. That'll be some fun stuff.
Snuck up on me, honestly, in the sense that the NFL season flies by every time.
Oh my god!
When week one starts, I'm always like, oh my god, I'm so excited. Like, it's gonna be so long. And then literally it's now December 15th already. I'm like, right. Okay.
I know. I get sad at this point in time of year. It's almost like, when it's the day before you have to leave for vacation and you're sad on your vacation. Just like be present in the moment. That's how I'm feeling right now about the NFL season. Fun World Cup outcome. I mean, it's not what we wanted in the sense that both underdogs in Croatia and Morocco did not advance, but still some exciting storylines.
It'll be great. Mbappe v. Messi, 2 of the best teams in the world.
Yeah.
Facing off against one another. It's just going to be great footy. The
up-and-coming, superstar player, and they both, they're teammates on PSG, which is also an interesting angle.
Oh my gosh, right. That's great.
Messi, arguably the greatest of all time. This is his final achievement that he has yet to achieve. And the 2 countries that have a rich soccer history. France is the last World Cup winner. They would be the first to repeat in decades. I'm trying to
I think 50 or 60 years.
Something like that.
Since
yeah.
the early 60s, I think.
And then meanwhile, Argentina, won the cup in 78 and then in 86. They advanced. They had a rockier road because they lost first to Saudi Arabia in their first game, but they still ended up winning Group C. And France had a bit of an easier time moving on.
Yeah, so sorry to interrupt, but Italy in 1934 and 1938 won back-to-back World Cups, and then Brazil in 1958 and 1962 won back-to-back. So it would be the first time in 60 years.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, that there would be 2 back-to-backs of the same team winning back-to-back. So. And
Messi, despite being in his mid-30s, still very productive. He's already scored 5 goals in this tournament. And then Mbappe, whatever, I'm never saying it correctly. Also has 5 goals. So 2 big stars facing off. That it's going to be exciting. I'm definitely going to be tuning in for that.
Very exciting. And like you said, it's just kind of fascinating that it's 2 teammates from the same club facing off for their respective countries. Both having banner World Cups.
Yeah.
2 of the most well-oiled machines, I would say, in the tournament and in world play, and just we'll really just I think see iron sharpening iron, a really really great masterclass in soccer. So I'm very excited.
Me too.
And I can't really predict who I think will win because as much as the star power and the messiness of it all is easy for me to get distracted by. France has just really put together a really strong, comprehensive showing of just being a really hard team to not a team to underestimate.
Certainly not. I did not realize that Pele was on those Brazil
Oh,
teams
yeah.
that repeated six years
Yeah.
ago. So for Messi to kind of cut that off for France would be a bit poetic in his quest to be the greatest of all time. And yeah, that's that'll be exciting. All right, back to American football. Just a bit of news before we head into our picks, because I feel like I've been getting people have been accusing me of loving Zach Wilson, and I liked him coming out of the draft, right? Or being a Zach Wilson truther. It's much less about him as a player, my frustration with the situation, and more on like the abject mismanagement that I feel of the asset of the locker room that I feel is getting validated by the New York media that likes it because it's dramatic and they get Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore giving them quotes. But the fact that they're doing that, in my opinion, is a mark of dysfunction. And the fact that the Jets have, if they don't believe in Zach Wilson, tanked their asset through this whole debacle. And even if they don't, even if they've come to the conclusion that they don't believe in him after 2 years, less than that, I find that to be suspect in and of itself. Like, he might be a MAGA idiot, and he might be a bad teammate. You know who was a bad teammate? Ben Roethlisberger. But Mike Tomlin kind of kept that under wraps, right? And they won a Super Bowl with Ben Roethlisberger. And they stuck with him, and they kept that stuff in-house. The Jets, it's the opposite. It's just like, we're going to let this play out in the media. Robert Sala's going to make this all public. He's going to let his receivers say whatever they want about their quarterbacks. And it seems to be that there's no repercussions for it in the locker room. But Mike White has gone 1-2. I was told that the Jets were making a playoff push, and that's why they had to get serious about their quarterback position and not, give your young quarterback confidence against the Bears and the Vikings, who have a terrible pass defense. They're going to put Mike White in there because they want to make the playoffs and capitalize on this. Well, they've gone 1-2 in that period. The only win was against the Chicago Bears. They've lost to the Vikings and they've lost to the Bills. But Mike White was injured, and he's a tough SOB. Let's give him credit, but he was definitely injured in that Bills game.
Destroyed multiple times, right shots right to the ribs.
And so it's just surprising to me that he's even playing or set to start next week. But because he was taken away in an ambulance, right?
Yes, he
for a precautionary ambulance.
He was literally taken in an ambulance to the hospital to make sure he was like okay. Yeah, I think it's an interesting. It'll be interesting to see how short a leash or long a leash White has in Sunday's game, depending on how broken up he is in the midsection, and if he takes. We've seen when Justin Herbert's ribs were hurt, how kind of like excruciating that pain can be to play through, especially if the line gives up a few pressures and they get through. Even if he gets a throw off or something, he can still get drilled at the end of that, which is kind of what happened the first time he got hit. He got a throw off and then just got drilled by a defensive tackle.
So in my opinion, there's a chance that they are just like concealing the fact that he's not playing on Sunday.
Right, in the
that
sense
could be possible.
No, I could almost see it if something goes awry quickly, they might just have a really quick hook and he goes in for a few snaps
or
and they put Zach Wilson in it 5 minutes into the first quarter.
But they couldn't conceal or they couldn't keep Zach Wilson inactive because they saw how Joe Flacco looked when he came into the game, and
right,
he should not be.
Yeah.
If you guys are must win and you're playoff bound, Joe Flacco should not be the backup.
You're not putting in 37-year-old Joe Flacco for must-win games.
Maybe it should be last year's second overall pick, who I know has not looked good, but did go 5-2 in his starts, and also was clearly very raw and needed experience, especially against bad defenses when he'd been playing against very tough defenses previously.
And just like broad strokes, he's 13 years younger.
Yeah, he's
and like,
so young looking too,
and can move his legs. Like Flacco can't move.
So they made the right choice,
pass.
but I think that they had no. I mean, it's like they're polishing a turd with this situation.
100%.
They clearly have already, in my opinion, burned this relationship with Zach
Wilson. Well, that's
I
my
don't know
feeling.
why he would want to stay with this team.
That's my
and they've
huge
mismanaged
concern.
the asset in the process.
Like I was saying on Monday, like my big concern now is not even necessarily like who's the right option for quarterback amongst these three guys. It's more like what the hell is going to happen once the season is over. And especially if they don't make the playoffs at all, like what's the long-term solution when like Mike White is a low ceiling, sort of high floor backup who's not, I would not consider a starting caliber quarterback for like a season of games.
And Zach Wilson has a very high ceiling, and you only know if he will achieve that ceiling by keeping him in game situations, getting his confidence back. You've shattered his confidence. I mean, let's actually play his response here, because I thought this was a very mature way that he's handled this perfectly. I don't know what else you can do. And again, I think he's MAGA. I think he's a bit of a snotty-nosed brat. I feel that there probably were people in the locker room that didn't like him. I think that happens in every locker room. Let's be real. But this is, at least since this demotion has happened, he's handled this well. And here's his response to the media when he was officially named quarterback 2 heading into the game.
Has it been a strange feeling on Sundays when you're healthy enough to play, but you knew you weren't going to, kind of thing?
I mean, it's frustrating, right? You would like to be out there, but like I said, you got to control what you can control. And right now, it's how can I just do everything I can to put myself in the best position to help this organization and this team. So, just taking it a day at a time.
Zach, if for any reason Mike White can't play this Sunday, do you feel like you're ready to go?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's my job as a quarterback, is to make sure I'm always ready to go and trying to put this team, in the best position possible.
There was another point too where someone in the media asked Wilson, do you feel that the organization or still has confidence in you or something? And he's like, I have total faith in myself. So he kind of answered the question, but didn't really. And the point is that he, of course, has no.
But that's instructive, though, right? Because he's basically saying I think the way to read that is, no, but I am confident in myself. That's basically from what I take from that response is him basically being like, I don't really think Saleh is confident in me, nor do I think my team is, but I'm still confident in myself, which is hard because it's like, I get it. You're a pro athlete. You are going to want to bet on yourself and bet that you can compete no matter what. But it must be the reason what I was saying before about how, regardless of Zach Wilson's ceiling, like the issue I have here going forward, especially when we talk long term, is like you said, is this: can he come back to a situation regardless of how he plays, thinking, okay, I'll be the starting quarterback of the New York Jets next season, and be comfortable or be happy or be content with that being his future? And my feeling is either he won't be content with that, Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas won't be content with that, or both. And any of those scenarios are bad for the development of this team, because like I said on Monday, airing out my frustration, it's always very frustrating, especially with this particular team, where basically, obviously the line could be improved, the linebacker core, there's some minor tweaks that could be made that would make this team definitely better. It's essentially one player out of 53, or one position out of 53 players that is the problem for this team, that is actively holding this team back.
And I'll go a little further here with Jets fans who are obsessed with Mike White. You guys have no idea how to win as an organization or as a fan base. You've never developed a quarterback, like a really developed a quarterback.
I think that's partially why.
So there's no leash. It's just like, underdog guy, throw him in, because that's all you've known. And frankly, ownership, I think, is getting involved here. And they're the one.
I don't doubt that.
Woody Johnson listened to the New York Post, like, Mike White's season doesn't matter if he goes 1-2. He's a grinder. He was on the practice squad for the Cowboys, and he's been in the league for like 6 years at this point. But we really got something here. He's a tough SOB. Totally get it. Not how you build a team. Not how you develop your high first-round pick, second overall. He hasn't even played 2 seasons, and they are benching him. I cannot believe that we are in this situation.
Yeah,
with him. It is unreal. You see it through to the end. I mean, again, I'm sorry. The freaking Bears, they were afraid to let Justin Fields throw the ball earlier in the year. He was having the numbers were dismal early in the year, but they stuck with him. And especially because Justin Fields had training camp and didn't get injured during that period. Zach Wilson did. And then he came in week 4, week 5, didn't have the reps that other guys did, was not playing that well, did have some flashes. And then the first sign of things falling apart, you don't instill confidence in your guy. You actually pull the rug out from under him, bench him for Mike White, create this media firestorm, allow your receivers to speak to the press, say whatever the hell they want about their teammates. There's no control over it. And that when you give a young quarterback a long leash like Justin Fields, you allow him the opportunity to show off his skill set. Zach Wilson doesn't have the athleticism or the running ability of Fields, but he's got a cannon arm. Let him show that. I don't know.
Yeah,
I've said all I can say about this, but it's just I feel like I'm the one I'm in the minority in the opinion on this, and I feel like everyone else around me is kind of taking crazy pills about this whole situation.
I don't disagree with the optics, nor do I disagree with that this is like a bad structurally for a team. I think my big problem is I just don't think there's any. I've been saying this a lot as well, as I don't see there being any scope with how this is being handled. And I don't even see any scope with like how the quarterback depth chart even further down from Zach when the season started is being handled, because I think I mentioned this briefly like our first show or something. Chris Streveler, who's like this backup, like this undrafted, like unheralded guy, played really well in preseason, like so showed some flashes, but instead he got cut instead of Flacco. And for me, it's like if there was going to be a situation like this in particular happening, where Wilson was injured, Wilson comes back, White comes in, White gets injured, I'd rather see a younger guy who basically is a blank slate, a total blank canvas, have chances than 37-year-old Joe Flacco. Even when we go to that nuanced or minute of a characterization of how they've handled the quarterback room, I was even put off from that. And listen, like I understand the bigger problems in the sense of the big problems with Zach Wilson not being the ceiling stuff, not being the highlights, being that he's struggling with the fundamentals of the game still. And I get the frustrations there, but I do also understand what you're saying, where you're saying it's a really short leash for a guy who hasn't played all that much. And what will it say about this organization? And I mean specifically the people who have been tasked with shepherding this organization into the future from the last regime, Saleh and Douglas. This was their highest draft pick. If they're giving up on him after 2 seasons, it reflects as much on them as it does on him. And that
reflects more on them.
I agree, but I think.
But to be diplomatic, you can say that.
And I think partially what I was saying before, which is why I'm almost thought that they made the choice to bench him, was because it felt like a bit of a flail, being like, let's cover up our fuck up as much as we can. I think they're feeling a little bit more heat about being directly associated with picking this guy who's not panning out, to the point where they're trying to kind of paper over it. But you can't paper over it with Mike White and Joe Flacco. That's the only way you could paper over it with Mike White and Joe Flacco, is if Mike White went on an 8-game winning streak, or Joe Flacco went on an 8-game winning streak and brought them to the playoffs. That's literally the only possible way to make this situation go away. And that's clearly not happening. So Zach Wilson will still remain on this roster, still be the second pick of the 2020 draft that they will have to figure out what to do with. He's not just going to like disappear. Like,
No, I know.
They have to figure something out. So that's my real concern, is even beyond the 2022 season, like who will be at this position, what's going to happen, and why.
I don't think it's Zach Wilson. Where do you think he ends up? Like, actually, let's just quickly game exercise. Where do you think Zach Wilson plays quarterback next year?
I think,
because I think the Jets have burned this bridge, and I think he doesn't want to deal with this crap anymore.
I think if the Jets feel frisky and feel flexible with money and picks, they will throw whatever they can at Derek Carr, with the assumption that they take Zach Wilson with whatever they give him.
Derek Carr has like an extension, but if they were to cut him, I saw that it was like something only like $5 million in dead cap, but they could avoid all that dead cap in Las Vegas if they did a swap. I mean, the Jets are going to get no value for this asset that they have tanked and mismanaged. So the best case they'll get like a third or a fourth round.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I would think, like, I could see it being like Derek Carr, a third, even a lower round pick, like a fourth or fifth round pick, 2 first rounders, or like two, like this year's first rounder, next year's first rounder, and a second round pick or something. Zach Wilson as the literal albatross around the neck of the deal.
No. 2 first rounders?
I just, but think about how much the Rams gave up for Stafford. The
Stafford, I think, is way more highly regarded.
I
in team
agree.
circles
I
than
agree.
Derek Carr.
I agree. But I'm just thinking in terms of how highly valued any sort of proficient to better than proficient quarterback play is. The Raiders are not going to take Zach Wilson without a king's ransom assigned to him.
I think that they would take a first-round pick, 1 first-round pick for Derek Carr and Zach Wilson.
I hope so.
I mean,
I would be fine with that.
But I don't even think that they would try to do that. I think they'd be like, well, we'll take our chances with keeping Derek Carr here because I don't know how long Josh McDaniels' leash is. He might just be like, I can't do this reclamation project. They might go after Baker Mayfield because Josh McDaniels apparently loved Baker Mayfield in the draft. The Patriots were interested in him. So that's where I could see. I mean,
the other thing, what I was saying that we've discussed briefly too, is maybe a similar deal if the Packers are willing to play ball.
Maybe
for Rodgers. If Rodgers doesn't retire, is moderately healthy and going into the offseason, and it seems as if they're willing to cut bait now that he's going into his age 40 season starting next year, I could maybe see the Jets looking to make a swap there.
The Colts could do it. The Falcons could do it with the Colts pick that they got for Matt Ryan. I think those are more likely than the Packers, who already have their hands full with Jordan Love.
Yeah, no, I guess the only thing that I could see that would be a huge problem is if Wilson's in a Packers trade, then you get another sordid, terrible QB competition.
Yeah.
Just 2 turds fighting against each other. Jordan Love and Zach Wilson.
I don't think that they're either of them are that bad.
No, I just more mean the fact that like it would be kind of like two middling young guys facing off as opposed to like having Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, I just feel like you got to look for teams that have offensive head coaches. So the Falcons with Arthur Smith could be an option. Plus, they like to run all those like bootlegs and things like that, where if Zach Wilson's on the run, I could see him, having a little bit of a better chance to develop than being in the pocket, having to dice you up right now, since his fundamentals aren't that good.
No, you could maybe put him in.
The Saints might take a flyer on him. Maybe he goes as like a stopgap in Arizona with Kyler Murray probably not going to be able to come back until later in the season next year.
I see what you're saying with the Falcons, though, because in the sense of what if Arthur Smith just tried to do with Zach Wilson what he did with Marcus Mariota, in the sense of like just kind of making him as mobile as possible and not needing to like you said, not needing to stay in the pocket for very long at all, trying to kind of dumb it down a little bit for him and make it a little bit more attuned to his skill set. I think that's definitely possible. I guess I'm curious, like then what happens for if that's the case, if it's a team like the Falcons and the Colts, like what do the Jets do otherwise?
I'm thinking it's Falcons first. My would be my best odds other than the Jets. I mean, I don't know. Like, just it's hard to say. Falcons, Saints. Raiders.
And I guess we'll see though.
In that order.
And also, I think it might depend too if the Falcons have anything with Desmond Ridder. Because they are choosing to play him.
How did I forget the 49ers? The 49ers love Zach Wilson heading into the draft.
Yeah, that's
I'm pretty
interesting,
sure
too.
they tried. I read reports they tried to trade up to 2, and the Jets weren't budging.
Jimmy's
And now they've tanked their asset.
Yeah.
They could have, if they didn't believe in Zach Wilson, they did their jobs. They could have traded out of that and got a Kings rant. They could have been in the situation that that the Dolphins were when that's how they were able to get Bradley Chubb and Tyreek Hill. Like, they used those picks from that trade to make their team better, and the Jets they took Zach Wilson, and I guess now they hate him.
But that's the thing, though. What you said last is the issue. Is that you can hate the guy, you can dislike the guy, you can be frustrated with the guy. What that does, though, is also torpedo his exit from your team. It makes it harder for you to get away from the person you want to get away from.
So I guess I would I'd put Falcons, then 49ers, then Saints, because I have no idea whatever the hell they're doing down there. And they have a defensive head coach if they stick with Dennis Allen, and I just don't know what's going on.
Yes, totally.
So then Raiders. But that's my...
Trey Lance, welcome to New York, baby.
Oh, You know how I feel about his skill set.
Getting you a Trey Lance Jets jersey next year.
Oh, God. All right, let's do our picks then.
Yes, let's do it.
So here we go. Well, we should say we have our Dan from the internet, our king, with this amazing intro. ESVN.
Stone cold lock of the century. All week.
Yeah, baby.
Again, our heads exploding because we're talking about the Jets quarterback situation. 2 weeks in a row.
Yep. Can't get enough of it. It's frustrating the hell out of me. But we basically, it was a push for us last week. We both went 1-2. Much to my complete fury, the Chiefs chose to mess around with the Broncos when I thought they'd make quick work of them. They went up 27-0 and then decided to throw 3 interceptions to the Broncos defense. Patrick Mahomes did. Let them get back in the game. Russell Wilson had his best game of the year by far, then kind of hit his head really hard on the turf. And the Chiefs did not cover. I thought that was for sure going to happen in the first half. The Eagles covered easily, -6.5 against the Giants. It wasn't close. Total embarrassment. I kind of saw when the Panthers went up 10-0, I was like, okay, my Seahawks bet is not going to hit, but I'm going to go 2-1 this week, and that's fine. Nope. Chiefs totally screwed me. Bradley, your only bet that hit as well was Lions -2. That was a good call by you. Less of a good call, and that's why I was questioning you during the episode.
I knew it wasn't going to work
Bucks
the
plus
second.
3.5. Yeah.
I knew the second I picked, and I was like, this is a bad idea.
And then Dolphins -3.5 also did not go the way.
Yeah, I bet the wrong way on the Twitter bowl.
Right. So we do have a essentially you're 2 games up plus
yes.
Sorry, you're +1. Like, you're 1 point above water and I'm 1 game underwater, since we're doing pushes as 0, wins as 1.
Right.
Losses is -1.
We're essentially tied.
What I mean, you're 2 games ahead of me. You're 2 games ahead of me.
But in the loss column, we're tied in wins.
Yeah. Well, I feel less confident about my picks this week. Let's put this up. These are our picks for week 15, because now I am envious of your first pick on Thursday Night Football. I think I should have gone 49ers -3.5 like you. But alas, I did not do that, and I am locked in. I'm questioning the Vikings a little bit, since they seem to only win by a field goal every time. However,
their point differential, that it actually speaks to that. They really have won 7 or 8 one-possession games.
It's unbelievable. But here we are. These are our picks for the weekend, week 15. I will start with that aforementioned Vikings pick. I have the Vikings -4 in Indianapolis. I feel less good about that in comparison to the 49ers. I think Bradley's definitely going to hit on that tonight, -3.5. But the Vikings, look, they lost the Lions last week, but Kirk Cousins played really well. Justin Jefferson played really well. the Minnesota run game just could not get going, and that was a big part of it.
That was the biggest issue in the sense that like Kirk probably one of Kirk's best games, honestly. Like he looked very
playing well this year.
He looked really comfortable in the pocket, over 300 yards. Justin Jefferson went for 223 receiving yards and 0 touchdowns. Like, actually, did he have a touchdown? Sorry,
no, he did not.
And so he was literally just giving them like amazing field position after amazing field position just by eating yards. So my thinking is just that you know, what if their defense can literally not get shredded like they did against the Lions, and if they can moderately run the ball?
What's going to help with that is that Christian Darrisaw is going to be back after missing games with he had a concussion.
Oh, that is big.
Their left tackle.
Totally, one of the best young left tackles when healthy. So great.
I loved him in the draft.
Yeah, he was really good.
Another player that just whatever. It's just
you wanted
during the Gettleman era.
You wanted the Giants to take?
Yes. I forget what draft that was, but I remember wanting that. Yeah, but he'll be back, so hopefully that'll help their run game, help them with protection. And the Colts are just a big wet fart. Like, I mean, Jeff Saturday, the experiment, we've concluded this is not going to work. I think they're going to continue to lose, and that science experiment, I just said experiment twice, but is not going to go that well anymore. And I
just don't trust him. I can't trust the game management. I can't trust the strategy. He had I don't know if it was 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago when he had that terrible clock management situation.
Yes.
Just letting the clock bleed, and they basically saying, "Oh, I didn't think time was of the essence." Time wasn't of the essence under the 2-minute warning, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And the Vikings defense sucks, but they did get embarrassed, so they might have a bounce back game. And the Colts are averaging 16 points a game, and the Vikings are not averaging 16 points a game. The Vikings.
That's the matchup.
That's the thing. I just think the Minnesota Vikings offense is going to be too explosive and put up too many points for a terrible Colts offense to actually match them. So Minnesota -4.
No, I think, and if anybody's going to make any noise on the defensive side, it's not the Colts defensive backs. I mean, Stephon Gilmore is great, but he's not enough. I think I also think if anybody's gonna shred a older Stephon Gilmore, it's Justin Jefferson.
Oh God.
And
yeah,
they're most of their talents up front. It's not the secondary. So I think if someone could have a big game, it could be these Vikings receivers. So
yeah,
definitely see where you're coming from there.
Definitely see where you're coming from with this pick. This was something I was down as always between 4. This was my 4th. The Niners -3.5. The only reason I didn't is because I felt like Seattle might be a little desperate.
Yeah, my thinking here is mainly it's a lot of recency bias in terms of like literally the last 2 matchups for these teams, meaning that I was obviously incredibly mistaken that the Buccaneers would have a shot against this team, even with the Bucs defense being what I kind of thought it was going into that game. Brock Purdy sliced and diced them. Christian McCaffrey went off. The offense is still humming along with basically anyone. They could have the equipment manager at quarterback, and he'd probably at least go for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. The defense still screaming, running, thrashing, doing everything, making people uncomfortable, tireless. If anything, what's crazy for me to say is that after last week's game, I'm almost higher on the Niners than I was the week before.
Yeah.
When Purdy came in to relieve Jimmy. So I think this team is still just hitting their stride. I honestly think they're still that team for me where I'm like, you are just peaking at the right time. And if Purdy can be serviceable, everything else can fall into place.
Yeah, and he's been more than
he played.
He's got fire. He got that cool rushing touchdown.
Exactly. He not only played well, and I was saying this on Monday. He did stuff and does stuff that Jimmy can't really do. He can
more
throw
athleticism.
More athleticism. He can throw down the sidelines more, where Jimmy likes to be in between the numbers, likes to do in-breaking routes. He can do a little bit more across the field, and Trent Williams is back. Bosa's held. Bosa's playing well. I just think this team is really hard to stop. And also, the Seahawks on the other end of it, with no running attack now that Kenneth Walker and Rashawn Penny are out, leaving it up to
Travis Homer is
Travis Homer.
very bad.
And it's
Sorry.
it's unfortunate because like it's a lot to put on a pretty unheralded guy who's the third string running back with no other options. And so then therefore a majority of the offensive pressure and workload goes on to Geno, and Geno was playing well where they had the other release valve, which was letting Penny go off for a few touchdowns. Walker do his violent running style right into the thicket of defenders. Like, it's a lot for Geno to do when he has no other options when handing off the ball. And this team just got destroyed, ripped to pieces by Chuba Hubbard and what's his name, Raheem Blackshear.
And Sam Darnold.
And right, Raheem Blackshear and the other rusher, Sam Darnold. Like the Panthers running attack, I repeat, the Panthers running attack destroyed them. And it wasn't even with chunk runs. They were literally spouting off 8 to 10 yard runs 50 times.
Yeah. So
I'm just thinking this is a good matchup for San Francisco and a particularly bad one for Seattle.
yeah. Oddly, of all of the lines that we have up there, that might be the one I feel best about. And it's not the one I picked. Idiots. All right, well.
We'll see. I could I Travis Homer's watching and he's like, we'll make these guys eat their words.
I know. Everyone's watching this show.
I'm a friend of the show, Travis Homer's like, I'm about to go off.
All right. Well, I love that pick by you. We also have one identical
wait, is Kenneth
pick.
Walker playing tonight? Seeing some people in
I thought he was not.
Oh, hold on. Let me check. That might change my thinking a little bit.
Oh, he is playing. Wow, as of last night.
Thank you, YouTube chat. Who told me?
Thank you, Kenneth Walker, for playing.
Thank you, Wu-Tang Financial and Fun P.
Still don't necessarily know if that changes the outcome because that Niners defense is number 1 in football.
They will definitely be more competitive now that they have a little bit more rushing versatility with Walker back. But he is coming back from not playing, and it's still the Niners defense. So I still feel confident, but that is a good thing for the Seahawks going into tonight.
All right. Well, we have one identical pick.
Yes, we matched today.
I got to be honest. I had 4 narrowed down, and when I saw that I was like, oh, we're both doing Niners minus. We might both do minus 3.5 for the Niners, and both the Bengals minus 3.5. We should mix it up a little bit. But this one, I also feel very confident in. Pretty confident. The Buccaneers are really bad. Like and Tom Brady is. He's done. All this talk, will he play another year? If he knows what's good for him, he wouldn't.
Well, he doesn't have a whole lot going on at home, so he may not want to.
Right. The dude sacrificed his marriage for this season.
Sacrificed his marriage to lose in a showdown with Brock Purdy.
In embarrassing fashion.
Who was 3 days old when Tom Brady was leaving the University of Michigan. And
let's be clear, look, the Buccaneers defense has regressed, but Tom Brady looks bad. And
he's still the problem. Like he's still besides the offensive line being incredibly undisciplined and hurt, like he's still the problem.
Yeah. I'm sure they want to move on as well, frankly. It's just they've got to get through the rest of the season.
And I'm wondering if I might be totally wrong on this, but I'm wondering if Todd Bowles' seat is a little hotter than people are making it out.
It should be. He has made inexplicable, incredibly conservative decisions in his head coaching tenure.
It's really fascinating because yes, there's been a lot of attrition in the set, both in terms of people leaving the team and getting injured, or for example, Gronk retiring, like stuff like that. In the sense of the team that won the Super Bowl is not necessarily this team, but at the same time. Even last year, the team that went to the conference finals against the Rams, like Bruce Arians' offense was just so much more creative and so much more aggressive. This offense is really stale, really predictable.
They have no run game. They are worst in the NFL. Dead last in rushing yards the whole year. And did you know this?
Fournette, Rashad White, who were not
very
bad
talented
running.
No, I mean Fournette's lost a step, but I like Rashad White a lot.
But yeah, in the sense of to be league worse in rushing is crazy.
Especially when you should be running the ball when you have a 45-year-old quarterback. And so.
But then go again, and then per this matchup. Try running the ball on freaking DJ Reader, like the best run plugging tackle in the league, basically. Yeah. Like this front, you do not want to mess with these Bengals. The Bengals on this front seven, like they're nasty.
Why
like,
don't you? Okay, there's 11 games since week 3. Okay, since week 3, I read this today. Guess what the Buccaneers' record is against the spread?
Oh wow. How many games are we talking?
11 games since week 3.
Like 3-8.
1, 9, and 1.
You're shitting me. That's oh my god, that's crazy.
They're last in rushing yards.
Crazy.
The one thing that the Bengals don't have, the Bengals have a top 5 defense in the NFL in terms of the way that they're playing right now. So I think Brady is going to get rocked, and he doesn't even need much to be thrown off target. He had Mike Evans for that touchdown, not the one that was called back, but the one that was behind him. I don't think there was any pressure in his face. So he's getting really jumpy in his older age. Fun for me as a hater.
And like we said,
but Tyler Boyd, he has that finger issue. T. Higgins has been questionable, but he really was just. They've been doing this the whole damn season. I have T. Higgins on my fantasy team, so this pisses me off. But this is the second time that they've said he's healthy, and he's really just a decoy, and he plays one snap. So just watch out for that. The Bengals have been doing this all year.
Yeah, for fantasy owners, going into the playoffs, beware if you have.
But still, it doesn't matter. I mean, Jamar Chase is
and even with the depleted core, Chase had a good game last week. He still had a good game.
And the run game should be able to run on this team because the defense has fallen apart a little bit. I just feel like
if Joe Mixon's going to get going again, it might be.
I just think the Bengals defense is going to be the really determinative factor in this, and Brady's not been able to pass the ball down the field very much. They're gonna go off. So that's why we both have the Bengals minus 3.5.
And it's another correction for me too, in the sense of like, I definitely I was still having a slight glimmer of hope with the Bucs that maybe at this late point in the season they can turn around before the postseason. And even if they do win their division, I just think like I hold out just because of my history with Tom Brady, but like this team's cooked. This team is stick a fork in them.
Yeah, even if they make a playoff, stick a fork in them.
Stick a fork in them. Yeah.
Can you imagine like the Cowboys are the 5 seed and
they will
go
wipe the floor with them. The Cowboys will shred them.
Yeah. So I now also have, and I'm going with this again. I'm going with a pick with a Giants game. I'm going with a Giants game pick for the 3rd time in a row.
You're coming back onto their side though, onto your team's side.
Well, I picked them plus 3.5 at home against the Commanders 2 weeks ago, and they covered.
Right, the tie. Right.
But then I picked minus 6.5, the Eagles, and that was on point. I have a pretty good feel for my team, in my opinion. 4.5 seems too much for a team that I think is very evenly matched, and the Commanders have more talent. But I think the Giants coaching staff is better.
Offensively, like I mean, yes, I
Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, I love the receivers on
Brian
the Commanders.
Robinson.
I like and Robinson on the ground. Like I like Brian Robinson. Like I like Terry McLaurin. I like Jahan Dotson. But I agree because I think there are with Taylor Heineke at quarterback, you can get 2 pretty polarizing outcomes. Like he can kind of make these heroic throws and these balls he throws, or sometimes he falters significantly and throws like 4 picks. So like,
yeah,
I just think it's going to be. I think plus 4.5 is underestimating the Giants slightly. I get it. Maybe they're thinking, oh, they got blown out by the Eagles, but it's not that abnormal to be blown out by the Eagles.
Yes,
the Eagles are the best team in the league. Like
now, the stuff in the Commanders' favor is that the Commanders are coming off a bye.
Right.
They're at home, but the point is like no one really. There's no home field advantage for the Commanders. They don't
in Ashburn, Virginia.
Yeah, really have much of that. And I do think coming off a bye, they'll have a good game plan. But the Giants just played them, and they understand the stakes of this matchup. It's going to be on prime time. Part of also what's influencing it is that Daniel Jones is 0-9 in prime time, and I don't think that that's like a choke thing, like Kirk Cousins was. I think it's more he was on some really terrible teams, and they just trust me. I mean, there was Joe Judge and that Shermer team. They were bad. They've been really bad under Dave Gettleman. I think that Daniel Jones is a robot. I don't think he's not clutch.
I meant to show you this, Emma. I don't know if you've seen this video of Giants players getting questions about their teammates, and one of them was like, who lifts the most, like who is the strongest guy on the team, and Daniel Jones is literally such a robot team speak guy that even for like this funny segment, he still was like, we got a great group of guys in this locker room.
Yeah,
And I'm like, this guy literally can't even be like, oh, like it's Saquon. Like you have to be like, we got a lot of strong guys in the locker room, really great bunch of guys, but it's probably Saquon.
You get nothing out of him. And what's insane too is
so
that
funny.
I mean, what's crazy is that he's like loved by his teammates behind the scenes. So he must have a personality. We just don't see it.
Yeah, no, he's just, I think, very good at like just not giving a lot, which is just hilarious. And he's like, even in this funny segment, he's still like, yeah, got a great group of guys in the locker room, always committed to winning, but Saquon can squat a lot.
Anyway, long story short, the Giants, if I were to gun to my head, I'd say the Commanders win by a field goal. Truly, if I had to pick right now. But this is a pick-'em game. Let's be real.
I think so, too.
So I think it's going to be very close regardless.
I would be really surprised if it was like a blowout on either end. It would actually like really shock me.
So I think 4.5 is too much, and that's why I have the Giants. Even though...
No, fair enough.
Look, I mean, I've just said this was the year they've already exceeded expectations. There's no receiving core. Isaiah Hodgins been a nice surprise.
All these
Darius
guys
Slayton and Isaiah Hodgins are their wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2. There's not a team in football that has a worse receiving core except maybe the Houston Texans.
The fact that these guys even are pleasant surprises is great. It's like it goes to show that they're playing above their station and that they're being coached well.
Yeah.
And also per Hodgins and a few of these other guys, like even like, Gary Brightwell or David Sills, like these guys are there because they're like third order players because of the injuries even coming into the season.
Mm-hmm.
Like no Wan'Dale Robinson, no Sterling Shepard. Like these, like this is the team is Kenny Golladay, like you said, is barely playing. And
he was playing in garbage time with Tyrod Taylor last game.
He's not even being relied on in actually meaningful snaps, and he's healthy.
Yeah.
So it's just like it's for these guys to be even playing remotely well, I think is again still a testament to this team's ingenuity, and I think they can be coached up to be competitive in this game. And I'm also sure like we like to sometimes talk about narratives going to this stuff, but like they're probably a little annoyed they tied.
Oh yeah,
last time against a division rival.
And they're going to be smarting coming off getting embarrassed by the Eagles.
And by the Eagles, by another division rival.
I think that you can catch teams coming off by a little bit sleepy. So hopefully Daniel Jones 1-9 in primetime games.
Yeah, let's get that one.
I want to change the narrative around him because he's a guy that he does everything right. He's not going to be the long-term answer for this team, but I want him to get a little bit more respect in the media.
Agreed.
He's better than the way that he's been portrayed.
He's like if you'll allow me a little bit of a Bill Simmons take. He's like RJ Barrett, but for the Giants, like he's pretty good, but he's underappreciated by national media.
Yeah, well, I mean RJ Barrett may not be that good, but
oh come on.
Well, we can talk about it another time.
I'm leaving.
Here we go.
Makes 1-5 in a row.
Now, I know. Fun. Overtime, no less last game.
Yep. So for me, I'm following in Emma's footsteps again, and I am betting against my godforsaken team. I'm taking the Lions +1 against the Jets. I don't exactly know why the Lions are underdogs here because
they're in New York. That's why.
Away game. Okay, but it's basically a pick 'em if it's +1. I understand, but. This is the Lions playing. This will be a real test for the Lions because they're going to be playing a really good defense, the Jets defense. But my thing is just for me, it's less about the matchup between the Lions offense and the Jets defense, which I think will be a very interesting and fun and hard fought matchup. That I think the Lions offense, I think especially the last 8 to 10 games or something, they're 5th in offensive EPA per play.
Oh my
or something.
God.
Like their offense is legit. Like it's not gimmicky. It's not just like stringing stuff together with glue and duct tape or whatever. It's a legit NFL high powered offense.
Yeah.
And so I think they'll actually be a worthy opponent to a really good Jets defense that is really coming to its own as the season has progressed. That is obviously, as we've said many times before, not been the problem with the Jets. So I think that will be a really interesting and an intriguing matchup. I more just think, can this Jets offense get going against a slightly better than league worst Lions defense.
They've improved, and Aiden Hutchinson has been balling.
Yeah, and James Houston has been great on a per snap basis. One has gotten sacks per snap. James Houston is one of the most efficient pass rushers, which is crazy because he's this not super heralded guy out of Jackson State, and he's kind of been a diamond in the rough for them. So I'm just curious about what the game plan will be for the Jets at quarterback, whether, like you said, it's Mike White for longer than a quarter. If he's really not feeling well, does he come out immediately? How does Zach Wilson look having not played for a few weeks? I'm also kind of betting a little bit on there being some more offensive uncertainty where I really don't think there's any for the Lions.
Yeah, I have no feel for this game, especially, but I would guess if I, again, gun to my head, I think the Lions win just because of what the hell is going on at quarterback.
Oh,
and if Mike White comes in, he could not be playing right. Like he seemed very injured to me.
Oh my God. And I'm just, again, like I mentioned earlier today, I just think I'm just remembering when Herbert's ribs were hurt, and his line was not super capable of backing him up and protecting him. And some of the hits he took, you look at the instant replay, he was screaming. Like you could see it through his helmet. Like rib injuries when you're playing hurt.
Oh my God!
Playing with sore ribs or potentially broken ribs, whatever the case may be. It's really difficult. You need to breathe when you're playing football. I mean, and if it's hard to breathe, it's hard to play.
It makes what Justin Herbert has been doing all this season, playing through that, even more.
100%. And like we said before, like credit to Mike White in terms of his toughness. Like he really stuck it out and did his best to stay in the game, even despite definitely hurting.
Yeah.
But I also don't think that's necessarily a great formula going into a matchup.
Well, he also knew that the guy behind him, because of the way that the Jets have handled the situation, was Joe Flacco.
It's like, gosh, I gotta
immediately comes in, fumbles.
He's like, what do I do with my hands? Guys, if you recall, I won a Super Bowl. It was 10 years ago. It was a really long time ago.
Yes, and it looks it. All right, well, that is our picks for the week. Let's go through them really quickly. I have the Minnesota Vikings -4. I have the Cincinnati Bengals -3.5. I have the New York Giants +4.5. Bradley has the San Francisco 49ers -3.5. Same things, Cincinnati Bengals -3.5 in Tampa, and the Detroit Lions +1. That's all, folks. That is all. We will see you on Monday.
But do we want to do a...
Oh, yeah, for tonight?
TNF prediction?
Yes. And I guess maybe we should also give our World Cup prediction.
Oh, yeah, let's do it. Okay, that's great. Okay, so I'm going to say 27-17 Niners.
I was about to say 27-20, but that might be too much with that Niners defense. But I'm just going to stick with it because it feels right. 27-20 49ers. You got 27-17, 27-7. Yeah, we're starting to have like mind meld. Talking to each other.
27 is always my go-to with these numbers, so it's just like it just like feels.
It's just such a standard football score for a good offense. All right, well, actually going to be a fun game tonight for the first time in a while.
Yeah, I think it'll be good.
I mean, that Baker Mayfield start ended up being good, but the game was not good to that point.
Right, we were not expecting you know, John Wolford getting replaced by Baker Mayfield against the Raiders to be like a all-time comeback. But it was
regardless of what happens with Baker Mayfield, can the freaking Rams figure something out at backup quarterback?
I know.
This is ridiculous. You have Matthew Stafford. He's as banged up as you could possibly be at 34 or however old he is.
Get a high floor backup.
It's not that hard.
Yeah, just find someone who can. Find a version of Colt McCoy or
Tyrod Taylor
or Tyrod Taylor, like a guy who's just who can play in an NFL offense. Pay Jacoby Brissett a lot of money.
Yeah,
just pay him an extraordinary amount of money.
There you go. You guys can do it. All right.
World Cup.
Oh right. I'm thinking Argentina. I know more of the money line has been on them, but I just think I don't know. That's literally why. I guess my sense of it is it feels a little like destiny, and I don't know enough about soccer to have a smarter take.
Score
2-1
prediction?
Argentina.
Oh yeah, I was thinking something similar, but I'm going to be interesting here.
I'm gonna read more up on it, and I haven't been sports gambling for a few weeks because I'm like, just save your money. This is Christmas holiday season. Just stop doing that. But I think I might actually put a wager on this.
I'm gonna spice this up a little bit.
Woo! France.
I'm gonna say 2-2. Argentina, France. France wins in shootout. France wins in PKs.
All right, there you go. Fun stuff. All right, we'll see you guys on the other side.
Have a good weekend,
Have
everyone.
A good weekend. Good sports weekend this weekend.
Yes, enjoy.
Saturday games for the NFL
Yes, that's
because
right.
college football,
NFL
the regular
weekend.
season's over. So good stuff. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.